Welcome in, everybody, to Girl, How'd You Get That Gig? For my co-host, Celeste Gehring, I'm Amy G, and today we get to chat with Miss Sabrina Williams, the Chief People and Culture Leader at the New England Sports Network, also known as NESN.
Welcome, Sabrina.
Sabrina!
Awesome. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
That's a mouthful of a title, Mama.
It is.
That's a big job.
Well, you know what? Back in the day when HR was a thing, right? It was like HR, right? And then now it's people and culture. And just so, there's no confusion, put leader in there so like people can actually pay attention to what you're saying.
Yes.
I don't know if that works.
Absolutely. Everybody listen, Sabrina's talking. Let's get to you, Sabrina, and your path. And I just want to start with like growing up. What was your connection to sports? Did you play any? Did they inspire you? Did you like watching them? What's that story like?
Well, so growing up, I was always the tallest person in the class. And so I was always in the back of the class, last name is Williams. And so the W's, and I think I was like 5'8", I don't know, when I was, 8 or 9 or something. So I was always the tallest person. So I got really tired of everybody asking me like, hey, do you play basketball? Do you da-da-da? So sports was, I think, the thing that a lot of people assumed I did. And I ended up getting involved in fencing. So I competitively fenced all the way through high school. Tried basketball, but I have no sense of direction. And with fencing, you're kind of going back and forth, so I can get that. Yeah. With basketball, you got to actually like move around the court, and I just could never get that right, as well as I couldn't dribble. So
sports is so interesting. You're talking to two very tall girls, by the way.
Oh, really? Oh,
how tall are you?
Well,
you peak at 8 years old.
I was about 5'8", and I'd been 5'8", and then kind of went like through a growth spurt. And by the time I, ended up in high school, I was probably about like 5'11", sometimes like right at like right under 6 feet.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like right in between us, Celeste. I'm 5'10". Are you 6? Are you over 6, Celeste?
I'm a little bit over 6.5 inches. So I'm 6'1.5".
All right. Fit right there.
Tall girls rock.
I always get the crossword clue for fencing. It's Epi, E-P-E-E. I don't know. Yeah. We have to edit this out if I'm completely off, but is that the tip of the sword?
Or yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Amy dropping knowledge.
Well, I just know it from, everybody should do the crossword every day. Look at what you find out. Yeah.
I know. Well, I went through a period of time, when you try a sport and like you're really, really not good at it, and then you get good at it, and then something happens, and then you're like, I'm not going to do that for a long period of time. So I haven't been back to fencing since I was on the fencing team. I was like the co-captain, and a new person, this new girl joins the team. Her name is Irma, and she's really, really good. She replaced me as a captain, and I shortly after that gave up fencing. So I have like some PSTD with fencing, but I love the sport.
And we're all about women, supporting women, but ooh, Irma, no.
Yeah. So after
wasn't my best self in high school. How was that? I was not my best self.
So after fencing in high school, moving on to college, what was your major and how did it help you with what you do today?
My major was sociology and economics. And I used to tell people it's why people love money. But how it helped me, I think, was twofold. One, I think gave me kind of like an analytical approach to problem solving. And then the sociology was really kind of like the human experience, right? Really always trying to connect on a human level with people. And I think today my job is to really figure out how to make people their best self, the best version of themselves. And a lot of that is, looking at data, trying to figure out what we're doing right, processes, that's important, but really centering on, at the end of the day, it's about making people really productive, happy, healthy in the work environment. So I kind of get an opportunity to bring both of those things together.
That is so cool. My mom studied sociology, and it was something I really considered. Just she would come home. She actually graduated when we were older. It took her 11 years to graduate from school. So I was like 8 when she graduated from Sonoma State. And I remember having like discussions at the dinner table about her major and her classes and the study of people and why people work. And it was,
Mhm.
very close to psychology actually, but just so fascinating. And then will you remind people where you went to college?
I went to Brandeis, and so that was my first time in Massachusetts. So I grew up in New York, and I landed on the campus in Waltham, sight unseen. So
Oh,
I'd never been to Massachusetts. It landed in, I almost felt like I was a Martian. I landed in Waltham, and and Brandeis, it's a secular university, non-sectarian, I should say, but it had a very high percentage of folks who were Jewish. And that to me was like being in Mars as well, coming from New York, like that wasn't a thing. Other than maybe some Hasidic Jews you'd see, periodically. So, a Black girl in the middle of Waltham happens not to be Christian and not Jewish. And it turned out to be a really life-defining experience for a lot of reasons.
in good ways, bad ways?
In ways that I think, in the beginning it was difficult, right? It was like being the only in a lot of different ways. But in the end, what I really realized, a couple things that have stuck with me, that you find common ground when you look for it,
Mhm.
right? Like if you really are intentional about it, you'll find common ground. Number two, we're more alike than we are different, right? At the end of the day, it's the things that you don't see that are really important to people, their
Mhm.
family, their friends, how they grew up, what they ate, culture,
Yeah.
etc. You can't see that, right? You have to really spend time getting to know people. So I credit that experience with really sort of helping me to be the person I am today, and help inform a lot of the work I do today.
That's
And you,
fascinating.
yeah, that is fascinating. And you went on to get your master's, correct?
I did.
And where did you get that?
Simmons, all well for all women MBA programs.
And
Yeah.
how different were the schools?
They were very different. I mean, well, Brandeis is men and women, from all over, um, and culturally very mixed in terms of people international, etc. Simmons was certainly mixed. You didn't have a lot of international students. We were one of the first classes with their MBA program. They had started a business school, so we kind of felt like we were the first, in a lot of different ways. You also had women, you had that in common. Everybody was a female at the school. And then number three was tackling, I think, topics that sometimes women are not always fully invested in or good at, like finance, etc. So it was a real opportunity to be around women who are good in finance or not good, could be successful. And it really was, I think, affirming to realize that you could do all of these things, and create a community of women alongside you to do it.
What's so interesting to me, Sabrina, in what you just said is we've all kind of been, I think we're in similar generations, right? Where if we weren't really strong in a certain subject, and often girls are not encouraged to study science and math and engineering and all of those things. I know that's changing a lot now, but it's not that you couldn't do it. It wasn't offered. It wasn't part of our curriculum. And as far back as I can remember, in junior high, we had to take block, and it was a set of classes that were super gender specific. Girls
Mm-hmm.
learned sewing, boys learned carpentry. And
Right.
so it's from the sociology side of things, it gets in your head that you're just not going to be good at that because that they didn't put you in those classes. And so it's fun to start seeing this real switch with like STEM and all girl programs going to camps where they study science and math and stuff like that. I do want to get back to your master's. So complete transparency for me, I've said this many times. I went to UC Davis, I studied communications. I would not change it for the world. I loved my
Mm-hmm.
college experience, but in all honesty, I don't know if I really needed a college degree to do what I do in television. And what we do, especially like Celeste and I, a lot of it is get in there, trial by fire. You got to just do this. You went on to get your master's. And a lot of people in our positions will go get a master's, but I don't think it necessarily would have helped me get a master's. I would, if I did it, I would have done it because I just would have wanted more education. How do you feel about your path? And do you think having a master's in what you do today actually helps, propel you and move you forward in your career path?
Yeah. I don't think it's for everyone. I think it's really about why you're doing it, right? I think for me, a master's was just an extension of two things I was noticing. I think as a woman in the workplace and being in human resources, there was a perception that it was all fluff. Like, oh, well, you just, you're there to hire people, make them happy,
benefits and
give them benefits, make them smile. And so I think going back for my master's was really about having credibility, understanding the business of where I was, enough so I could talk the talk to get, I think, a seat at the table to really advocate for the people. It was hard, I think, for me to advocate for the why without knowing the what. And the what was really, how does the business work? And I do not think it's an absolute necessity. And I think companies really struggle with, is it absolutely necessary or not? So for instance, at NESN, we've moved away from requiring degrees. Right? Because what we've said is that we can teach you how to do this work. We have a studio, we have the equipment. We can teach you. What we need is just a desire to an interest in doing it. And I think that is a really powerful paradigm when you're talking about wanting to have diversity in an organization. It's like, wow, anyone can do this work, and we're willing to help you figure out how to do it and do it well. Makes it possible for that person who, didn't go to college or finish because, they were taking care of their family, or culturally was just never they were first generation and was just never the thing that they were going to do, or they couldn't afford it. Right.
Sure.
And so I'm really proud of the fact that all the companies I've been at, and NESN included, that we've moved in that direction because it worked for me, but it doesn't have to be the same path for someone else, and yet they can equally be successful.
And what interests you so much about HR and taking that direction instead of going more into sociology or business, really sticking with the HR piece?
I think what interested me about HR is that any company, any industry is made up of people. So I have a huge curiosity. I love to learn, and I love to new challenges. And so being in HR allows me to have something that I can apply to many different companies, many different industries, et cetera, because at the end of the day, we're all working through people. So it allows me to have that curiosity and go somewhere and learn something new. And then it just fills my soul to a certain extent to see the ability of human resources, of people, of culture, to unleash the potential of people, right? Like I think about people who don't have an advocate, right? Who's, hey, I'd love to get paid more, but don't know how to ask the question or what the data is, et cetera. So we balance being a company steward with being an employee advocate and champion. Doesn't mean we say yes to everybody and everything, but I leave at the end of the day knowing that we're striving to create the environment where, we're transparent, we're equitable. Doesn't mean we're equal, but we're treating people fairly. We want people to have opportunities, and we want to invest in them. And that there's a real commitment that if you show up and do great work, that we're going to recognize you. It's kind of like sports, right? Like, every time I was in team sports, you'd have people who were exceptionally talented, but didn't work hard. You'd have
naturally,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. you'd have people who would work really, really hard and didn't get, the recognition. And then you'd have the people who worked really hard and was able to be successful, even if they didn't have all of the innate skills. I want to be on the team with that person. That's the
Totally.
right. That's the team I want, right? Like if you work really hard, you put in the effort, like even if you're not the most talented innately, like you're still going to get a shot at it.
Yeah. I always preach that. I used to coach, my daughter's now 15, but she played, sports. She plays volleyball now, but she played a bunch of different sports when she was little.
Yeah.
And I coached, and you would have that superstar kid that was kind of a jerk, and you're like,
Yeah.
good, we got to deal with this one this week. And you wanted the kid that was just going to grind it out, like give 100%, even if they didn't catch the ball or hit the ball or what, it didn't matter. The effort was there. So you can work with effort. I want to back up. So two things. One, you said, I'm like, I want to know the answer to that question. When you say you can talk to us about how, do you know where I'm going, Celeste? I want to make more money, but I don't know how to ask. I mean, feel free to share on that one. I feel like everybody listening to this wants to know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Is there a canned kind of way to ask?
Yeah. I think it is first to approach it almost like a interview, right? I think so. The way to ask is to start out with questions, right? What's your definition of success? How do I stack up to other people who've been doing this job? Where do you see the value, the value I can add, or where have I added value? So the more I think you go into it, asking questions first, right? And getting the information, then you can arm yourself with, here's the data I need to support why I am the answer to these questions, right? And I think the mistake we make is that we don't do enough of that due diligence of asking the questions, because I can give an example of, something that what I see all the time is people go out and they look at salary.com and external market data, and they come back in and say like, hey, this job, says I should be paying 100,000 and I'm only making 70. Like, well, easily I can say, well, that's not really valid for these reasons. Like, you've given me sometimes the information to set yourself up for the no. Because I can easily discount that information, like, well, that doesn't cover companies that look like me, that information isn't like validated. You're like, well, what does that even mean? But if you started out first with some of those questions, you'd come back with, hey, here's the ways in which I've been able to demonstrate value, reiterating what I just want to make sure I clearly understand. So it becomes harder for me to tell you no when I've already told you the answer to the question, right?
Yeah.
The worst one, I think, too, is when they come to you and they say, I've been a hiring manager for Valley Sports, and they say, hey, I need a raise because I've been here for a year. It's everybody's favorite. I just need a raise because I've been here.
Get in line.
Yeah.
We all need a raise.
Yeah. And those are coachable moments, right? Because again, I think about that Celeste, about like that question, like I need a raise because I've been here a year. It's like, okay, do you need 1%? Do you need 2%? Do you need 10%? Because if do you need $500? Right? It's kind of like you're you're leaving the power in the hands of the other person.
I love that.
Ooh, there's our tease.
There it is. Amy, did you have another question to follow up on?
Well, I was just going to ask about your start, because you didn't begin your career in sports, and where you started and why you made the transition into sports.
So where I started, so how I got into HR is really kind of synonymous to why I'm actually at NESN and in sports. Is I was working in financial services. I was on a project leading an integration, just maybe a year out of college. And I met this woman who was the practice leader for the organization that had came in to do the integration. And she was phenomenal. she was a mentor. She was a coach. She took me under her wing. And about a year later, asked me to join her team.
Mm.
And fast forward to, and it happened to be in HR. So I was in finance, and then she was in human resources for a consulting firm. And that's how I got into HR. And I ended up working with and for her 3 times. And so it's the power of somebody taking an interest in you. It's the power of somebody being a coach and a mentor. It's the power of feeling part of a team. Like, no matter when she called, what she asked, I was willing to do it because I know that she would return the favor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you think back on sports, really great teams have all of those things, and none of us are successful without the support of other people, right?
True.
So I experienced that, and I think in my career, I've wanted to be able to facilitate that and give more people opportunities. And then I think with NESN is that sports is universal, right? It is a connection that most people can have, and it's a language that most people understand. The importance of the team, putting, yourself, behind a team, or investing in a team, or even coaching, and so I think a lot of times people with sports can see themselves, understand it, and it becomes something that can connect people to a larger mission. And then you have a platform like NESN, which is reaching all of New England. And if we did it right and told those stories, people who look like me would say, wow, okay, I see myself in those stories, and maybe that inspires people to, do something above and beyond, or say, hey, I didn't really think I could do that. But so I think it's the stories we tell, and I think sports is a metaphor for some of the things I value in life.
Well said. I know, when I worked at NESN, and this is before you were there, Sabrina, I felt NESN had so many amazing people. A lot of those people are still there. And we had a lot of DEI classes, which I learned so much in. And we had candid conversations, right, where people would share their feelings and talk about different things. And I felt NESN did the best out of any company I've ever been a part of with community service, right? Like, we had, it was part of our raise. Yes. Yeah. And you felt like the community, like part of the community. And every year we helped raise money for cancer, right? And so a lot of us worked till midnight or 1 a.m. And it was so just heartwarming to see the difference that we were actually making. So I feel NESN does such a great job as a company of really bringing people together. And you are obviously the leader in that forefront right now. What is a day of the life like for you in your job and your role right now?
I think a couple things stand out in a day in the life. One is really being an advocate and a champion for our DEI efforts, and realizing that we hold the keys from a people and culture perspective. We have the ability to influence who gets interviewed. We have the ability to influence who gets promoted, and so I think day in and day out is never to lose sight of that, right? And not to take it for granted.
A lot of power too.
Yeah, exactly. And with power, comes responsibility. So really making sure that we're making the right decisions for those things. The other day in the life is that it's not about me, it's about the people that work here. And so sometimes you walk the halls and you're talking to people, and staying really connected to the people for whom you're doing this work. An example of that is, I don't have small kids, my stepdaughter's grown, but it's a challenge for our people, right? I have, parents that are getting older, making sure that the things that are struggles for people in their day-to-day lives, that I never lose sight of that in hey, how are we going to manage return to the office? What are the kinds of benefits? And it's not just for me, but it's for the person who is next to me, who may not have the ability to talk to our CEO and say, hey, here's something that's really important. So really staying, I think, connected talking and walking around and not just being in the office, so that you don't lose sight of the needs of the people who work for us. And those needs may be very different from my needs, right? But balancing everyone's needs and trying to meet people in the middle ground. And then I think the personal thing for me, I do have this thing that I came to NESN, and I say every day I'm striving for this, is that things like that happened yesterday with the bean pot, where we had for the first time an all women's production on air where everyone was a female, that we have more of those first, right? And that eventually becomes the norm. Like, it won't be the thing that we have to showcase and say, hey, we have an all female production, everybody from the producer to the director, that just becomes what we become known for. Right. Is something that I would love to see us achieve in my lifetime.
It's such a common goal I have with you, Sabrina, in that, because oftentimes I'm asked to speak about or bring attention to this milestone moment, whether it's, gender related or, your sexual orientation, whatever it is. And I always say, I know we're making progress when we don't have to talk about this anymore.
Absolutely.
Not this big surprise and this huge milestone. So I'm on the exact same page as you. And I feel like so much of what you've already said has kind of answered what HR, people and culture is about. Do you still feel that there are any misconceptions regarding human resources? And what would you really, if somebody said, what's the best part about what you do? I kind of feel you've already touched on a lot of it, but in a short, concise answer, what's the best part about the department that you work for?
I think the best part is that whatever we do as a business, you can take pride in helping someone do that. So you really have an ability to feel like you, through other people, really are making a difference, or you help them do this. So that's really gratifying. And I think that's the part I love about it, right? It's just, I don't need to do it, but to know that we've helped empower people to do it and do it well, you take real pride in that.
Yeah. And do you feel there are any misconceptions still regarding like, for example, me, the time I was an in-game reporter, it was, and now it's come up again recently in the news when we had a fairly famous one say that she made stuff up. But, a lot of times you'll get like, do the men in the truck tell you what to say? Do they tell you what questions to ask? So pretty much they all thought you were like a dingbat, right? So, and that's a small percentage, right. But it is reality. So what are your misconceptions that you deal with?
I think a couple. One is like we're all about the people, therefore we're all fluff. Like, oh, okay, la la la, it's all about good, so that we're not really, concrete or legitimate business people. And then the other part, the other misconception, which I just think we still get, and I think some of us in these roles may play into that we're the police, that we're there to check on you. So, even just yesterday, it's a funny story.
Here comes Sabrina, you guys. Here comes Sabrina. Everybody
exactly.
talking.
Amy, you got it. I literally said to someone, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Oh, I've been here. Basically I was like, I'm not checking in on you. I literally just haven't seen you. Yeah. Like, I'm not monitoring your timesheets.
Plus, you have to deal with some really serious stuff too, if there's any type of complaint of any sort. And I mean, it's pretty severe, some of the things that those departments are handling, and change people's lives.
Yeah, and I think the misconception there too, Amy, is that we lead with that negativity sometimes about like, oh, everything's a problem. We don't trust people. It's all about, most of the time, I think you are applying this as well. We're trying to do positive things and help people solve their problems, right? Like, so it's not always negative. It's no, and it's certainly not always no.
Yeah.
And Amy and I stress all the time on this podcast that there is no right way to get into sports. And you are a prime example of that, having started in another, a couple of other industries and then moving into sports. What advice do you have for people that are actually trying to get a job right now at NESN and trying to transition into sports?
Mm-hmm. I think the advice right now is that this is an awesome time to come into sports. One, I think, you see it with the advent of women's sports. I think you see it in the fan base numbers and streaming numbers, et cetera. Sports continues to have a moment. And I think what we're looking for are people who are passionate about something, who are willing to do the work. And number three, really want to work as part of a team. And so if you have the experience, great. If you don't have the experience, make the connection. I used to work on a team, or I did this sport. I understand this environment about, teams and fans and how this all works, even if I haven't been in the industry. I think we're really open to people who don't have direct experience, as long as they can make those connections to the things that are core value to us: inclusion, teamwork, collaboration, et cetera. So if you hone in on those things, and then the last I would say is, check LinkedIn and don't be shy. Reach out to people and say, hey, send them an article. And most people here will respond and be willing to have a conversation.
LinkedIn gets brought up on this podcast a lot.
Oh, it does? Yeah, it's great.
I need to do more, I think. I'm going to send you an article, Sabrina. Hey, we're running out of time and we know you're super busy. So we got maybe two more. I'll start with one and going back to just kind of diversity. And, we talked about the diversity, equity, inclusion, what people know as DEI. Where are you seeing the needle move on diverse hires, hiring people of color, and where do we still need to go?
Yeah, for us, the last 2 years we've been tracking it, where we've had a goal of increasing our hiring for BIPOC employees, people of color as well as women. And what we're seeing with our women, using that number, is we've had 8 to 9% increase. And so I think more women are coming into sports, applying to our jobs. So we see more of a pool of candidates, because I think we've gone out there and said, hey, women's sports is really important to us. And that's translated into more women candidates. I think with our BIPOC candidates, it's more exposure in the communities. Hey, this is an opportunity. There is a place for you behind the scenes and as well as in front of the camera. And I think with that education, we're seeing more BIPOC candidates. I think overall, we need to continue to expose sports as not just being the person in front of the camera or somebody on the field, but that we have HR, we have finance, we have people behind the scenes who are doing work.
Editors,
so
producers.
How
all Celeste and I started. Yeah,
exactly. So all of those jobs exist, and they really are value-added jobs. And so the more I think people understand that the breadth of the roles, then hopefully we can continue to get more women and people of color. And then the last thing is that I think just doing more of what I said about the bean pot, giving our women and BIPOC employees the opportunities to do great work and to get recognized for it, I think will help us in our recruiting and retention.
I'll just add quickly. I know you have a question, Celeste, but like Celeste and I are like living examples of not starting on camera and ending up on camera. And I will tell everyone who goes that route, you will be a better on camera personality if you've worked behind the scenes, because you really understand what the producer in your ear is going through, or the director or the editor, and all the timing and when to ask a question and how to help. It's literally a lifeline if you can, like you said, the breadth of positions that are there. So I highly recommend doing other positions, because a lot of people are like, I just want to be on camera and be a star.
Plus your team likes you a lot more, right?
Yeah,
they respect you. They really do.
Sure do.
All right,
wrap
Sabrina.
that cable, girl, wrap it.
Yeah. Sabrina, we're going to wrap this up with one last question for you. Most people want to know, how do they get better at interviewing? And what is your recommendation on that?
Practice. So, I tell people you should always be interviewing. You should always be talking to people. You should always be out there exploring. It to a letter, people who tell me that they practice, it's like prepping for a speech, right? You're going to take your notes, you're going to practice, and you'll give a better speech. Same thing happens with interviewing. Because I think the thing with interviewing is that you think that there is an answer that people are looking for, therefore you don't give it to them. And the more you practice and the more you get comfortable with your answers, you'll figure out a way to communicate what is authentic to you in response to the question that's being asked. And that's really the key to interviewing, bringing your authentic self, but yet answering the question in a way that the interviewer connects the dots.
Authenticity is everything, I think. I know Celeste said it was the last question. Can I ask one more really fast? Really fast.
Yes.
I know. Well, because I just had this conversation with my mom. Celeste didn't even know that I was going to do this, so it's my bad.
Okay.
So I'm going to jumble this up, but I just kind of want your reaction, Sabrina, and your advice across the board to women. So my mom said through a study of AAUW, which is American Association of University Women, they found that when you look to apply for a job as a female, if you don't think you are 100% qualified, you don't apply. And men, if they're 60% qualified, they apply. Because they're like, screw it, I'll figure it out. And it's a confidence thing, most likely. But are you seeing that? And how can we help women just get out there and, be a little bit more like men in that sense? Like, just go for it.
I think the stats are real. And I think what I would say to every woman out there is know your worth, right? Know your value. And if you know your value, you go into an interview really just confident that this is an opportunity for you to have a conversation. It is not going to define whether or not you are a good person or whether you're worth hiring. The more you release that, the easier it is to have the conversation, because you're not making your worth and value a direct result of that conversation. And so when you have that, I think, mindset, why not try it? It's like, listen, I'm not going to be worse off if I apply to a job that I've never had before. Okay, it's a good conversation, etc. So I think that mindset of, I know my worth, I know my value, this isn't going to define who I am. It's an opportunity to have a conversation, to learn a little bit more about you and the organization. Okay. I always was curious about being a brain surgeon,
Well, I mean, some jobs maybe you should be 100% qualified for.
Yes, maybe not a brain surgeon. I was curious, but yes. But yeah. And the other thing I would tell you too is that, and this is maybe the industry's secret, most times no one is 100%. 99, I've never met a candidate that had 100% of everything. I don't care what it is.
True.
Mm-hmm.
So
and that's where the grinder mentality comes in. Are you willing to learn? Are you coachable?
Exactly. And so I think we think that list is a list of everything I need. It's just a list to start it out.
Yeah.
It's, so
it can be intimidating. I understand that, but that's great advice. Yay, Sabrina. How do you feel? You were a little nervous, see?
I was, but I'm good.
Yeah,
I feel so great. Thank you.
All your friends.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I will. I'm going to send out the YouTube and the link, and I'm just going to take this and catapult. Did I tell you I wanted to be in the front of the camera? I do. No.
Perfect example. Like, you were working behind the scenes, and now you're a star in front of the camera.
Exactly.
That's how it works.
From HR to stardom.
Yes.
I
Get
love
ready
it.
for the people to slip into your DMs. Here they come.
It was wonderful. Thank you, guys. Great opportunity.
You've been listening to Girl, How'd You Get That Gig with hosts Amy G and Celeste Gehring. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube and follow us on Instagram. The handle is @GirlGigPodcast. Followers and subscribers are automatically entered to win our giveaway prizes, announced every other Wednesday on our Instagram page. Until our next episode, go get that gig.